What up? Okay, so this is not the thing that I'm building, but I'm looking for an anime base is what I'm looking for, right? And the reason why is, let me turn the music down a little bit if I can. Turn it down a little bit. I don't know if it's even audible at this point, but yeah, let's go. So the reason why I've got this is because I'm looking for a way to create like a body, right? There's a lot of anime style mods and models that you'll find don't have a full body, but I don't like this, so I'm not using it. So let's go back. So this is a version of the model that I got from somebody for commission. So we're going to use that. Now this won't be released publicly, but I can go through the whole process here without any issues. So let's take a look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete everything, yeet it out, and we'll start from the beginning. Alright, so just open up Blender. I'm using 3.6. We'll go ahead and import. Oh, and let me turn on I think I've got the key thingy. Yeah, there we go. There we go. It's right at the bottom. Boom, 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 boom. Alright, so that should be good. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay, cool. Alright, I don't know if that helps or not, but whatever. It's there. Alright, so first thing, I'm going to import it. I believe it's an FBX, and it's in 3 parts. So we've got the dress, the head, and the hair. So let's go ahead and just bring these pieces in. Not really changing any settings here. Oh, and look, you can see it's really tiny, right? So if I click on this here, this little beginning part, you see that it's like all the pieces are under here. I'm going to go ahead and just bring it up to full scale so I can see it. And there's our body, right? Nice. Import, and we'll bring in the rest of the pieces, FBX. So we've got the hair, do the same thing. Notice also, this one just has the rig here, the armature, but it's the same principle. We want to bring it up. Now, if it's not set like that, you can just make it bigger on your own, but that's how we're doing this one. So we're good there. We've got the head, and I'm getting this weird message down here for whatever reason. I don't know what it's for, but I'm going to ignore it for now. It won. All right, so all of our pieces are here. So I'm not going to be reusing any of the bones right now. I might reuse the hair bones. We'll see. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and hit A and Control A, all transforms. So everything is in place. And then I'm going to hit Parent and clear the parent. Okay. Now, I also want to get rid of, I'm going to get rid of all these bones for now. I'm not going to use any of them, so I'm just going to delete them. Now, if you want to use them for posing and stuff, you can. They just kind of get in my way, so, and I kind of make its own rig for these. But that's me. Now the face texture isn't showing up, but whatever. We'll figure that out in a second. Okay, so if we look at this, right, and I hit H to hide this, you can see that underneath there's no body. There's no body here. Like, no body, right? There's hair, you can get rid of hair pieces, but there's no body, and that can make things difficult. There's no back of the head either. Like, it's like, So what do you do when you run into this situation? So what I'm going to do in this example is I'm going to go ahead and unhide all that stuff again. But I'm going to go ahead and use the Tekken body. Since I have a Tekken body, I can go ahead and use that, right? I don't know what all these empties are. I'm also going to delete all these empties. These empties are just these little gizmo thingies here. They're just in the way. They're no longer attached to anything. And here, let's go ahead and delete these. But a faster way to do this is I can go in and I can go into filters and I can hide my other meshes, like some mesh pieces, and leave these exposed, and then just go down, select all of them, and then yeet them out of here, and then go back and turn my stuff back on. All right, cool. All right, so at the beginning of every project, I also want to save, so let's go ahead and save as. And that's my bleach project. Missions. So in L2. Let's close model O2. Alright, so we've got our stuff saved, and like I said, I want to create a new body. Now I could create one from scratch if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. In this case, I'm going to use a different mesh. Now if you don't have access to the Tekken mesh for this character, it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever full body mesh that you have access to. They've got some free resources. I think Blender released something a while ago, but I have this for right now. So I'm going to use that. So I'll bring it in. Of course, she's huge. And for me, I'm using my base mesh model thing that I have. But ultimately, once you get your body, you'll be set. I have some shape keys on this. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of real quick. Just make it generic. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because I don't need that right now. And so we just have a body. If you have one with a head, that's also a plus. So I'm going to grab this head. And if you have my blend file, you'll have that as well. I'm going to delete this for a second. So when I use asset libraries, I like to use append because it creates a whole new copy of the mesh versus any potential like linkage. So I'm going to go ahead and just reset this up. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply all my shape keys for this one because it has shape keys. If yours doesn't have shape keys, then you can skip this step completely. This one also has shape keys, so I'm going to apply all those shape keys and set this at 0. All right, cool. Alright, well, and now I'm just gonna join this to this, join, and I want them just to be all one piece, so I'm just gonna hit L and search by UVs, select those parts, and I'm going to go ahead and use boundary loops. What this does is it just selects the areas of whatever you selected, and because they're right up along each other and they're designed to go together, I'm just going to use this mesh cleanup merge by distance, and that puts them all into one. So now when I select it by UVs or whatever, doesn't matter. Like it's all just one piece. But that's good. So my body is essentially set up. I'm also going to go ahead and get rid of my weights because this is going to be used as a transfer model. So I'm going to essentially create a human rig, but I'm going to use the basic human rig. We'll use the regular human rig. Okay, so I want fingers. So I'm going to move this up and we'll do a quick, set that as in front. We'll do a quick setup of this thing. So typically keep that right at the crotch, and we'll go ahead and set this up. So in edit mode, we'll make sure we have X mirror on. And we'll go ahead and start placing our bones where they need to be. All right, so this is just going to go in the elbow. Oops. I don't know why this is on. This should not be on. Oh, because I never actually closed it. Okay. So we're going to move this into the elbow area. We're going to grab the whole wrist. We're going to put the ball of the wrist right after the that joint here. I'm going to use R to rotate it a little bit, so it's kind of, so the top of the hand is running right to the center of the body. This is a good position for these, so I'm not going to really move them. I'm not going to really use the bust bone all that much, but I am going to just move it to where it's supposed to be. Let's go ahead and set up the knees. So for the knees, I usually set it right at the bottom of the knee piece. So right there. I'll grab this whole thing because it's easier to move, and I'll just move it over into the ankle spot. And I'm actually going to move all of this up just a little bit so it's at like where her clavicle is at. Now these bones are usually pretty good, so this is going to be at about the belly button. So you've got like the pelvic region, then you've got the belly button, which is right usually below like the hip line for a lot of people. Or no, this is like at your waistline, and then this is gonna be at about your belly button. So you got like your waist, it's like right below that, and then this is at about your sternum or your ribs, right? Okay. Let's move this up a little bit centered. All right, cool. All right, now I'll go to the side, and we want to keep it nice and straight across the majority of the body, so that's pretty solid. I'm gonna go ahead and it's bent a little bit forward, which is fine. I'm actually gonna move it more closer to the center of the knee, just a little bit higher on that one. All right, we're gonna move this to about where this line of your foot is at, and I'm just gonna move this over and down a little bit. And I don't really use this that often, but this is the base part of your heel. Good. And I'll move it out just a little bit over. Good. All right, that sets up the legs. The arms, since this is an A pose with a bend to it, I'm gonna bring this back. And I usually try to line it up with the elbow bone. Right, let's just throw this here. And then we'll move the wrist over. And I want to rotate it so it's mostly in the right position. Okay, good. All right, so that's looking good. For this part, for the clavicle, I usually move the clavicle back so that's pretty much in line with the other bones. All right. Let's see. For the neck bone, this usually goes right here. That's good, right here at the base. I also get rid of the face bones because I'm not going to be doing any face stuff. So it's all spine bones. And I'm going to hide those, and then the rest of these, this is like the face bone. So I'm going to grab all of these. I'm going to turn this on to X-ray, and then I'm just going to yeet all those out of here, and then hit Alt-H to bring them back. All right, so we want this bone to be about like between like the ear and the bottom of the jaws where I like to keep it. This will typically be in line with the chin. So you'll see it kind of like this, right? So it's kind of like at the right in between the nose and the lips, the chin, and then at the base of the throat. This could go down a little bit more, but I'll keep it about there. It's fine. All right, so that's the easy setup right there. And now I'm gonna go to the hands. All right, and hands suck for a lot of people, so I'll show you my methodology for doing hands, and then we can go from there. So the first thing I do is I turn on snapping, and then I turn on volume, and I'm gonna grab this bone, and if I hit G, it'll snap it to the volume area. The other thing I'm gonna set is center, so I want it in the center of the volume. All right, for the hand piece, I usually go halfway between, I usually go from the hand through to the index finger, but I'm going to make it at about halfway of the distance between like where your fingers start and where your thumb starts. So it's about there, just kind of eyeball it. And then for the thumb, I'll run it across this line. Grab those. And I'm kind of putting these like in line with the fingers, right? Best I can. This bone is gonna go, you have a bone right here, so that's gonna go there. You've got, oh, oops. I'm gonna grab this and throw this into the top of the thumb. This is your knuckle for your thumb here. So we'll grab that. And then you have this bone right here that makes your thumb open and close. We'll do the same thing, right? Okay, so for the knuckles, you need to look at the top of the hand or the bottom of the hand, but essentially you'll have the end of your finger, and then you'll have like a pad about like I guess like a third of the way of this whole section here. And that's where I like to put, right in the center of that area if I can, is where I'm gonna put your knuckle bone. I'm gonna grab this, throw this in the top here as tall as I can get it. Now sometimes you're gonna have like markers that you can use, and like for this case you'll see, if I can line this up a little bit more, you see these like ridges right here where you got a little bit more topology like in these sections. That's going to help you find out where the bend is in whatever model you're using. You can look at it and see the creases if you want to, or if you've got textures already set on it, then you'll be able to look at those textures. Will normally, oops, have your knuckles kind of outlined. But one of the key things with this process, and we're going to be doing this again when we actually get to the modding part, because this is just kind of a setup option for characters that don't have bodies. But one of the things that you want to pay attention to is one, that it's working on both sides. So I have this X mirror set on. Whatever, I'm using the meta rig that's built into Blender, so it's free. It's in Blender. It's built so that it can handle mirroring, and basically how this says forearm.L, the opposite one that moves with it is just forearm.R. So it's got the right naming convention. I'm gonna get this elbow right here in the right spot. I think I was a little bit off. I'm just gonna go with this view as my main view. And I want it right at the beginning of like the full fleshy part. All right, cool. All right, so that's all rigged up. You see this hand is rigged up as well. All right, and so I'm gonna hit Control A so that the size of this is all set to its base size. If I Control Z, you'll see that's got different scaling. We don't want all that, because if we try to wait, it's gonna use scaling at 1 versus scaling at these different levels. So we'll hit Control A, all transforms, and that's set. All right, cool. So this one, I have removed all of the vertex groups because I just don't want them to interlap or be confusing. So I'm gonna go ahead and do automatic weights for this. So I'm gonna hit A, Control A, all transforms, just because I love to do it. But I'm gonna select the body, then I'm gonna select the bones, and then we're gonna hit parent armature deform. Nope, we're gonna actually hit parent with automatic weights. Now, if you've got a full body that's all connected, you shouldn't really run into many issues, if any at all. If you had a body that was in multiple pieces or has layers of clothing or certain things of that nature, that's where you run into an issue, and that's the purpose of why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. Because it's easier to transfer weights than it is to like fix the weights otherwise. So if we move it around, we can see that this character is moving, and they're not the best weights in the world. They can be better, but we're going to use this for posing mostly, right? Good. So now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and find it in my list, and I'm going to name it pose rig. We'll say custom pose rig, whatever. And I'm going to hit M with it selected to create a new collection, and I'll just call this rigs, just so I can keep it separate. All right. And I'll do the same thing with this one. We're going to throw this in rigs, and I'm going to call this one reference. Oops. Let me go down and select the actual mesh. We'll call this reference body. Right? Cool. Okay, so I've got this rig here. Good. Now let's go and find our girl. Where is our girl at? So if we can't see her because she's really small, I can select one of her pieces and go view, frame selected. Oh, and it'll zoom me in all the way to whatever I selected. Now she's all in pieces right now, and we don't really want that. But you gotta be careful when you merge things together, right? Let's go into this view. So one of the things that we can run into is that if they have a different UV setup, if we combine everything, it might cause issues. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna create a new little armature for her. All right, so it's just gonna be mesh armature, single bone. We got this bone right here, and I'm gonna grab all of this, and then I'm going to select that, and I'm gonna parent armature deform. I don't want her to have any weights from it. I just want to use this as a scale. Right, so now I can make her bigger, I'm using S to scale and just make her bigger. And I just want to get her generally in the right size. And this bone is in my way. So I'm going to hit edit and I'm going to, I want to rotate this bone. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to switch this to active element and rotate it like that. And I'll just make it 90 degrees. And I'm rotating it in edit mode, not pose mode. Alright, that's why it's just easier to see. Alright, 1 second. Alright, well, it turns out I've got to babysit, so I have to pause this thing. But the last thing I'm going to do real quick before I end is just set my general rule of thumb. So my goal is to get the body to be about the same size, right? And so the first thing I'll normally do is look at the crotch, right? So I want this chick's crotch to match. But it's hard to find the crotch. So in this case, her crotch is like right about there. So I'm gonna hit S to get that up to about there, right? Cool. Now, if you look at her, she's still too small. So now with her, I want to kind of split that. So I'm going to hit this. So I want, if I hit G while I have that selected, I can move her up and down on a specific axis. So I can hit G and just move her all crazy, or I can hit G and then Z to move her up and down. I'm going to turn off snapping though. G and then Z. And the goal is I want her like right actually, let me hit control. Let me do this again. Let me set it back to 0. And we'll set this to 100. Okay, so nix all of that. The thing that I'll be doing next is setting this, which is going to be my reference body, to match this. Okay, that way I don't have to do a lot, right? I just scaled up by essentially 100 to get to where it's supposed to be, like at a general size where we can look at it and see it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and for all of this, I'm gonna hit A, control A, all transforms. All right, so my goal is to get this body to align with this one, right? And to do that, I'm going to do the same thing I was doing with her, except I'm going to do it with this mesh. So I'm just going to bring her down a bit, try to match her to where she's supposed to be. So I think it should be something like that. One of the things that I try to look for is the crotch line, but these girls don't have a crotch because they have no hips. So I have to kind of imagine where it would be. So I'm going to say hers probably about right there. So I'm going to get that to about right there. Okay, cool. And now I'm going to change this from being small like this to its own origin. That way it'll kind of shrink in and out on itself. And now I'm going to just kind of work with it to get her to about the same size, right? Okay, cool. Now I can go into pose mode. I can start moving things around. So I could be like, okay, I want these arms out. And if I know the range, I'm going to say -45. And that way I can just do this side. And also, since these are mirrorable, I can do the same thing, right? So if I do this and then say 0, it'll move it out, right? And we're going to get her in the, first we're going to focus on getting her in the right position. All right. We want to make sure that she is about the same width. So I'm going to grab the hip bone for the spine bone. We'll try to line up the body as much as possible. Oops. There we go. And now I want to rotate the legs so they kind of fit where they're supposed to. I'm gonna switch over to normal, and this is gonna create the axes that are gonna follow along the bone. And I'm gonna try and get this one longer. So I'm gonna hit S to scale and then Y to make it longer on the Y axis. Right? Get that in about the right spot. And we'll do the same thing with the foot, and that kind of puts the foot almost in the right spot. So we're gonna hit SY, get to about there. Good. And it looks like there's not really a lot of rotation, so we're good. Maybe I want this to be in a little bit more. Okay, we'll move this out a bit more flat. All right, now the thing with the arms is we want to kind of get this in line with this hand. So a lot of times I'll move the shoulder up until the base of the hand part, because I can just make this straighter, right, is in line. So that's going to be kind of like the goal. I want my fingers kind of in the line. It gets a little bit harder when you have more dynamic poses, but if it's just a T pose, it should work out pretty decent. And then the same thing, I'm going to look and try to get my elbows and everything where they're supposed to be. So we're going to straighten this out, and we're going to straighten this out. Okay, cool. So we're doing that. Let's go ahead and stretch this arm out. Oops. Let's hit S, then a Y. And I'm really trying to get this to about where the elbow would be, which should be about here. And you see that these other bones start stretching. In most cases, it's not a big deal. And now I'm going to try to get this hand back to where like the base of the hand meets, right? And the closer I can get it, the better, in my opinion. So I'm going to bring this down a bit. All right. So that is looking pretty good. One of the things I'm looking at also is the body. So when I select the custom rig body, I want it to kind of make sense, right? And I want this to actually conform to like the intended body. So I'm gonna hide some of these pieces. They're kind of like distracting if I can. Does she have another shirt on? Not sure. All right, cool. Now the head is also an issue, so we want to get that fixed. So we see that she has, let's get rid of her hair for right now. Just hide it. Okay, so the heads are definitely very different on an anime character than they would be on a regular person. So we're gonna have to try to see if we can account for that. So I'm gonna hit this to kind of get the neck kind of in the right position. So kind of naggle it around a bit. All right, and so we've got the main head bone. Now if I scale this up, it's gonna be too much. So let's scale up the head a bit. And one of the issues that you can run into with your rig is if their bones are officially connected, you can't move them off. You can rotate them, you can do whatever, but you can't hold them anywhere. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to edit mode. I'm gonna click on this bone, and I'll click on this bone. We'll go to the bone section, go to relationships, we'll go to connected and turn that off, and then right click on this and say copy to selected so that the same applies to all of these. Now when I go into pose mode, I can pick this bone and move it wherever I want to. So ultimately I need to make this head bigger. So that I'm kind of getting the same shape. If it looks funny, that's fine, because it would look funny on a normal person. right? And I'm not really as focused about like what the ears and stuff like that, but I do want the head kind of like that. So let's also go into here and go into pose mode, and I can make it a little bit wider maybe. All right, cool. Let's bring back the hair. Hit Alt H, just bring everything back and see if the hair is still kind of like within the bounds, right? And if I wanted to, I could also go in and make changes to the head itself. So if I want to go in here, let's go ahead and just hide that for a second. Let's say I want to just shape this head a little bit, so just for my own liking. Well, before I do that, I'm just going to look at the overall body. Right? I think I'm going to keep it as it is right now. But I am going to do this thing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a shape pose key real quick. Oh wait, no, not a pose key. Shape key. Right? So you'll create a base and you'll create a key. Set that to 1, and now everything that we change is going to be included in this key. Right? So if I go in here and I want to make the head just a little bit more rounder, go to my elastic tool. I'll set this to mirror so that it's on both sides, and I'm gonna adjust this head. I'm gonna turn the strength down a little bit. You just wanna shape the head a little bit, not too much, just a little bit. I might bring her neck back a little bit to give it some. These anime characters got some monster heads.
Hey.
Okay. Okay, cool. So there's our body that we're going to be essentially using as our reference piece. Right? Looks a little bit like an alien, but it doesn't really matter too much right now, right? All that we're looking for mainly is that all this stuff kind of matches up. And I'll go into the next step in the next video, but like I said, I have to take a break. But this will be our reference body, and if I'm going to be using this body again in the future or whatever, or say I have a bunch of clothes or something that I want to do, I can set this up to work with that, right? So for example, I haven't really changed any of the overall portions of this thing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit A, Control A, all transforms. What that's going to do is it's going to make the rig size stable and the body size stable. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift D to create a duplicate. I'm going to hide these ones real quick. So now we have this duplicate version of it. And I'm going to go ahead and hide her for a second. And let's go ahead and import one of the previous ones. So in this case, I'm going to import the dress. Oops, the dress. Nope, the dress. Oh my goodness, dress. There we go. All right, so it's nice and little. So now I'm going to go to this custom rig, and I'm just going to bring it all the way down, so it's teeny tiny. We're going to go down to frame selected, so it's small. And it looks like I'm still going deeper down the rabbit hole. View of frame selected. I have no idea why it's so tiny. But there it is, little baby. All right, view of frame selected. And I'm just scaling her down till she matches again. And we're looking at a point. Let's make sure it's official. We'll just say point 1, 2, 3, 1. There we go. And now I can save both of these. Control A, all transforms. Oops. So I'm not sure why that head is wanting to do that. Why is it doing that? Let me do that one more time. Okay, so I'm not sure why it's doing that, but what I can do is I can go into pose mode and I can set this as the rest pose. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply as a rest pose. Okay, it's not working. Okay, let's do this. Let's grab the body. We're gonna hit, and we're gonna apply the armature. Oh, because I have the shape keys. I gotta turn the shape keys. I'm gonna apply them real quick. All right, so let's see if, here we go. So now I'm going to apply the armature. So now the body doesn't, it's not really, whatever pose I was in is now its pose. These bones I want to keep. So I should be able to now go into here, go into pose mode, make sure everything's selected, and then go to apply as rest pose. All right, and some of the bones get a little bit bigger or whatever, that's fine. They're just getting normalized essentially. And then I can go back to object mode and I will reattach her to her bones. Okay, what in the world? All right, let's see, control all transforms and then reattach her to her bones. Okay, now she's reattached. The order of that stuff is can be annoying at times, but there we go. Now she's back to where she's supposed to be. She's set at her original spot. This girl here is at whatever size she's at. Right? So like this one is at, let's see, 1. Cool. If I take her and scale her up, I think like 100, I think. But either way, I've got a point of reference, because what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to take all of these parts and I'm going to weight them according to this reference rig, right? That way I can get rid of all these other bones and all these other things, and I can just use this reference rig for any of my other characters that are fit this girl's proportion. So if I have this character, say in another game or something, and I'm taking out versions of that character, like with different outfits and whatever, I can then use this for the future, right? And you just, let's see, so I'm gonna go ahead and export it. So I'm gonna go ahead, file, export, FBX, and I'll call this one base model reference. And we're gonna go ahead and save it. I like to save it with selected objects. Keep all that stuff generic. Geometry. Set that to face. We're gonna use tangent space. I'm not gonna triangulate any spaces. We can apply modifiers, that's fine. Armature, I keep this all here. There's no animation, so I turn that off. And once you have something like that set up, what I would suggest is go into presets and create a preset, right? And you can be like default mesh export or something, right? Armature export. That way, whenever you want to do that, you don't have to check everything. You know already did it and you're good to go, right? You hit export. Very nice. If you have a bunch of these, you could put them all into their own file and create an asset library, something similar to this. But that's all I have for now. The next video that I'm going to do, I'm going to go about actually using it so that I can get these clothes ready to put on another character altogether. Right? So that's it for now.